again, and thank you for joining us. Another edition of our show. Today we are talking about the habits of highly happy couples. What do some people do that ensure that their relationships are thriving? And I want to make a point here that successful couples doesn't mean they don't have conflict. It doesn't mean they don't have difficulties. They do, just like anybody else. As you saw in the last few years, what happened all over the world with COVID-19 happened to everyone. And I'm sure that, some very hard people went through challenges as well. I mean, hardworking people went through challenges as well. But the important thing here is how we work hard to make sure we're resilient. We are able to deal with issues when they come up. We are able to exercise patience, love, joy, peace, and all the things that we do. So as we move along here, one of the things that I want to also point out is that successful couples or highly happy couples say nice things about each other. You will never find one of them say any negative thing about their spouse, especially in public. They ensure that they invest time into building each other up. They invest time into thinking more positive thoughts about each other, and they invest time into ensuring that they take care of each other. So there's a resource from HuffPost on, some of the things that happy couples do, and I want to go through a number of them with you. They do not sweat over the small stuff. They pick their battles. Happily married for 25 years. One couple gives a tips. He says, be buddies. Don't stress over the little stuff. Be positive. I think that's the last point that I made. There are certain things that you can just let it go. Because at the end, even if you make it an issue and you argue or talk about it, it's not going to move the needle of your happiness in any direction. So you are better off just letting it go and, just being happy the way you are and not getting into any further conflict situations that can steal your happiness for another couple of days. Yeah, remember, it's you and your spouse versus the world, not each other. So you are not in a fight with your spouse. You are together. You are one. So making that decision that, look, we look at things as a couple, as a team, is a key way of helping you through this. Yeah. So another couple married 20 years says, talk. It's all about talking. Be open. Are you unhappy about something? Talk about it. And you know what we're talking about here is communication. Communication is key. Being able to express the way you feel, what you think about something, and being able to really say how you feel and communicating it clearly to your spouse helps. And one of the resource that I guess a skill or a tool that we learned was that when your husband or spouse tells you something, try and play it back, mirror it back to them. So let's say your wife says that, over the last few days, I will be happy if you get home a little bit early so that we could spend some time together. So you go back and you say something like, so what I heard you say was, if I get home a little bit early, you'll be happy so we could spend some time together. So that's mirroring back to your spouse, and that helps you to really let your spouse feel that you heard him or her, and the other side too, it helps you also really understand where your spouse is so that you can make the necessary changes that can help you grow in your relationship. So moving along, laughter. Laughter is very, very important. Laughter is a magical secret weapon. Learn to laugh at each other, laugh at your jokes, find opportunities to laugh. it's important that we create those opportunities because they will not happen by themselves. Nowadays, today, there's so many resources. You can easily go on YouTube and find some nice, clean comedy to just sit back as a couple and watch and just laugh, have a good laugh on a Sunday afternoon or whatever day you decide. But the point here is it's important that we create these conditions. If we don't create it, this is something nobody will do for us. The analogy I made about companies and how companies invest in things, resources, and programs that help them to be successful. If you do not do those things, you will not get the results. So here, asking yourself, today's Thursday, Saturday is coming around, Sunday, we're home as a couple. What can we do to help us share some laughter? What can we do to help us, do something fun and make sure that it's helping us to distress and at the same time share some laughter together? So investing into those things really help us to build our relationship. Yeah. Don't stop learning about your spouse and marriage. I cannot say this enough. There are so many resources today that can help you build your marriage. And I cannot talk about this. You can go to YouTube and type Focus on the Family, and you are going to find a ton of resources. I like to Focus on the Family a lot. It's a great a resource, a great ministry that provides so many resources today. And there are so many resources on YouTube, you don't even have to pay for it. And you can always find something. There are TED Talks on relationships, that will really help you to understand how the successful people are making it, how they are overcoming challenges, how they are handling their emotions, how they are resolving conflict, how they are dealing with their finances. It's just so much information. And today we don't have a problem with resources and knowledge. It's everywhere. We carry this device in our pocket called the cell phone, and as you're listening now, I'm sure for whoever is listening to this on our podcast, I'm probably preaching to the choir because you have decided to do something about it, to equip yourself with some resources that will help you grow and develop your relationship. But today there is so much out there to help us. We do not have to suffer in ignorance at all because there's so much knowledge and resources to help us today. I use my driving time as opportunity to listen to resources. I always have a podcast. I have about 4 or 5 podcasts I listen to, not every week, but every week I pick one that has a topic that I'm interested in learning about. And of course, one of them is relationships. And I like to learn about travel. I like to learn about technology and entrepreneurship. They are all topics that are very, very interesting to me. So I invest time into learning and equipping myself with the knowledge I need to become better at it. So find ways of learning not only about marriage but about each other. Living with your spouse in an understanding way. It's knowledge. It's you learning. You can always learn something new about your spouse. And I can't tell you how many times I've said this, but about 4 years ago, we bought a car. This is the car my wife is using now. And just 2 days ago, I found out the car could do something I didn't know. And what it could do is that you could program the key fob to the presets on the car seat, so that when you sit in the car and you hit the preset, and if you actually program the presets to the car seat, when you use the key fob to unlock the door, the seat will move to the position you want. So I have one key, my wife has the other key. So if she sits in it, she presses the key, the door unlocks, and then it adjusts the seats the side mirrors, the steering, everything to the position she likes. And if I bring my key along and I press it, it does the same. Another thing I also found out is that the side mirrors were heated. And I didn't even know this, because I didn't read the manual. Maybe I would have known that. But the point I'm trying to say is that there's probably something about your spouse you don't know. And that's something that could bring you so much joy and excitement that, when you get to find out. So let us learn more about the person we're with. Let us get to know them more. And I've often said that as we grow, we change. So there's always opportunities to learn things that where we are evolving to, and the things that are changing in our lives. Another thing I would like to say also about learning is going on to workshops and retreats. As I said about finding resources online, it's great to attend retreats too. And one that I cannot say enough about is Family Life Today has a retreat in fact, every weekend in North America. There's a retreat going on somewhere in a city in America. It's called Weekend to Remember, and we've attended a number of them, and we absolutely like it. You meet hundreds of couples over, a 3-day weekend from Friday to Sunday, and you learn so much. They even give you the opportunity to go on a date night, which is really, really nice. You get to spend some time together as a couple. You stay in a hotel, and just the energy with all the couples you meet makes it a very wonderful time. And no matter where you are in your relationship, whatever stage in which you are, when you attend this event, you're going to come back equipped. There'll be something new you will learn. There'll be some modeling that will happen in terms of examples that will be made for you to really follow, build up on. So find ways of attending these retreats, workshops. There's so many of them out there. I could only mention this one, but again, there are ways that you can look into this and invest into them. Another thing that happy couples do is they do not let romance die. And when I talk about romance here, I know the first thing that goes into mind is intimacy, which we're going to talk about. But when I talk about romance here, it's about doing those things that let the other person light up. It's about getting that nice gift for your wife or your husband, just for no reason. Today I saw this in the store and I thought about you and I got this for you. It's romantic, holding hands, those gestures, helping, doing something to help your spouse when they're very tired or occupied, investing in things that can help build your relationship. Let's say you have young children, paying a babysitter so that you can take your wife out for dinner, or even vice versa. The wife could also do that for the husband, So let's not let romance die in our relationship. Let's make sure we keep romance going. It's healthy. It builds our relationship. It maintains the joy and happiness in our relationships as well, as we develop and as we go along in our marriage. So I hope all these ideas are really setting the path, or setting the path for you to think of some of the things that you can do to really build your relationship, because it all comes down to the things you put into your relationship. It does not just happen. There's a reason why again, companies do well. There's a reason why some individuals make a lot of money, because they put effort into it. They follow certain principles. They learn, they develop. They sometimes fail, but they learn their lessons and they try again. And all these activities help to bring them to the point of making them very, very successful. So as we move along, make sure you are coming up with ideas of things you can do this year to help you develop and grow your marriage, and also become one of those highly happy couples. My name is Akwesi Opong. This is Couples Date Night on Sunlight Radio, and we'll be right back. Thanks again for joining us today. We are very excited to having you, and we are talking today about the habits that make some couples very successful and very happy in their relationship. And we have covered a wide range of topics tonight, and we still have some great ideas for you as we go along. So, the next thing we're going to touch on is that happy couples don't marry in isolation. You know, they have a good network of friends they do life with. And I'm talking about having friends who are also couples, who share the same values as you do, who have are in the same season of life as you do. Maybe they have younger children as you do, or maybe have no children as you do. And it's usually a best approach because you are able to do life together. You're able to meet with them every so often to, talk about life and connect with with them as well. And you always find something to learn with. And I want to point out that this is not an opportunity to find out what they have and what you don't have, and what you're going to ask your husband to get because they don't have, or compare notes about what somebody's wife is doing and your wife is not doing. That's not what this is about. It's about the opportunity to encourage each other, build each other up. And for us, we realized after some time in our marriage that we were in a small group, in which we still are, that some of the challenges we went through, it wasn't just us. All the couples were going through the same challenges at one point or the other, and it gave us the realization that we are okay and we're going to be okay. But when you marry in isolation, you often tend to think that all the problems in the world are happening to only you and your spouse. And that was the challenge a lot of people had during COVID, because we were locked down, we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't connect. So all the issues and all the weaknesses and faults in the relationship started surfacing to the top because all we could see was each other. We were really blessed to have a support group where we met over Zoom. We were able to still see other couples, connect with them, talk with them, and really gave us a platform where we could still connect with adults and really share ideas. So make sure you have a good support system, good friends that you can always connect with. It really adds a lot of value to your marriage and your relationship. So it's the couples who are very, very successful also make time for themselves as an individual. I cannot say this enough. The fact that you're married doesn't mean you're no longer an individual. You are you. All the wonderful things that you did that attracted somebody to you and you became married, you have to make sure you are investing into those things. And this is not talking about being selfish. This is about taking care of yourself. Making sure that you're resting, making sure that you are still developing yourself in any way, whether it's if you're exercising, you still do that. You could do that with your spouse, but make sure you do that. Now, investing with yourself or making time for yourself means that you're making time to rest. You're making time to spend time with your friends. If the fact that you're married doesn't mean you cannot have friends. Maybe your wife and your girlfriends go out to do their nails or to have dinner, and you, the guy too, could also go play golf with your friends, or meet up somewhere to share a meal or go bike riding or play basketball. There's just so many things that you can do as an individual to develop yourself. And one thing I like about it, when you spend time as an individual doing something you like, maybe you go and volunteer, or you go to spend time with your friends and you help your friend move, or whatever you do. Well, maybe I won't put helping your friend move in the category of taking care of yourself, but anyway, making time for yourself. But it has to be something that benefits you and helps you to rest and develop and clear your mind. When you do those things, you always come back home with stories. There was a period of time where I volunteered for 8 weeks at my church. I did that every Wednesday night. I taught a small class at my church, and every time I come home, I bring all these stories of people I met and things that we talked about, it was fun to bring those stories home and to really share them with my wife, and we talk about those things. So, being investing time in yourself really helps you to recharge, and it brings refreshing times to your relationship as well. So it's very important that you make time for yourself as an individual. So when you get married, it doesn't mean that you are going to be doing everything together all the time. It's important to have time for you as an individual. So let's not forget that. Let's make sure that you as an individual, you are really spending time developing yourself. You know know that your spouse will always get it right get it right. You will be hurt sometimes. I think I talked about this earlier on, that the happy couples, that doesn't mean that they have everything right, everything is going wrong. You're going to be hurt, you'll be disappointed, you'll be upset. Those times will come. But when they come, it does not mean the relationship is over. It just means something is wrong and we have to fix it. I like watching Home and Garden TV, or one of those shows, and somebody could stumble on a house where they go in and the house is a mess, and there's trash everywhere, the walls are falling apart, but they look at the house and say, it can be fixed. We don't have to raise this whole house down because it's dirty and the walls are bad and the sink is not working. We just fix it and we move on. So the point I'm trying to make here is that when those moments come, the hurtful moments, the disappointing times, it does not mean that the marriage is in trouble. It's just a time of calibration. It means that we have to look within ourselves, we have to talk about issues, we have to build upon ourselves. So let's invest time into doing that, and that will actually help us to even have a more enjoyable relationship, because the recovery, when you go through that recovery after going through a period of conflict, it's always refreshing because you come up with new ways of continuing to build intimacy with your spouse. So, moving on, the happy couples, they keep intimacy alive. They keep their sex life alive, and they make time for it. They find ways of making it exciting. They prepare themselves for it, and it's something they talk about it. One couple said they've been together for 15 years, since he was 19. Keep having fun. If it gets boring and stagnant, it can create problems. So, get creative. There's, of all the men in the world, or of all the women in the world, you found this one that you said I wanted to do life with. Enjoy your intimate moments and create opportunities for wonderful intimate moments to happen, because that will definitely add a high level of happiness to your relationship. No pun intended, but it's just the truth of it. And one thing I would like to say about intimacy is like the check engine light in your car. If there's less of it, it tells there's some underlying issues going on in your relationship that has to be addressed. Maybe there's bitterness, there's resentment, there's contempt. All these things could be going on in the relationship, and so if there's lack of intimacy, then that's a clear indication that both of you have to start working on issues and start finding out what the issues are. And also, I must say that there are times when you need to get help in terms of medical, or help in terms of getting help from mental health or a psychologist or anybody, or even a marriage counselor or a therapist who can help you get through some of these issues that tend to set us back. So I hope that as we're going through these, you're getting some ideas that are going to really help you to be able to grow and develop your relationship. What another thing happy couples do? They build their marriage by, well, we said that by attending retreats. I've already touched on that. So they listen to their spouse's needs. That's another one. So needs, when you're listening to needs, I often say it's the words behind the words. What are they really saying? What did I hear her say that words did not say? And if we listen closely, we will hear those things. If we listen closely, we will not miss those things. So it's important that we learn to listen. Listening is an art. Listening is having an open mind and not being too quick to make a point or say what you were thinking. Listening is being patient. So let's invest time into making sure that we are listening to our spouse. So the happy couples also go out of their way to make their spouse's day. What have you done to go out of your way to do something great for your spouse? If you know that your spouse has something important going on in his or her life, you invest some time to make sure that I'm going to help my spouse get through this moment, or I'm going to help create the environment for my wife to be able to learn to pass her certification, or I'm going to help my husband prepare for his big interview, or whatever is going on in their lives, and I think that's what Dr. Gottman talked about having those shared moments where you think about your spouse in light of how can I help them get better, and it's not just about providing. Some men say, well, I've provided for them, my wife and children, what else do you want? But it's more than that. It goes way beyond that. Yes. So let us make sure that we're doing things that will help them really we go out of our way to do it. So once in a while, do something nice. An example, my wife loves crab legs. This is from a gentleman who wrote this. He said, my wife loves crab legs, but the only restaurant around here serves it, and we're looking at about $40 just for a plate of crab legs. So what he does is every so often he'll put money aside, come up with $40, and they will just both go, or maybe $80, I don't know, he says a plate of crab legs. So it's a splurge, but I guess he does realize that every so often he goes out of his way to do that because it adds value to the marriage. So let us make sure we are investing all these wonderful moments, Another thing I would like to say is that never stop saying I love you. And it's something that we men sometimes fall short. We have to make sure that we always remember to say I love you. Even though you've said it many times, keep saying it, because one thing I have learned is that it means a lot to our spouses when we say it. It definitely brings back good emotions, and it helps keep the marriages alive. And I hope that as we've gone through this today, it's provided you with some great ideas that can help you to also join the club of happy couples in this new year. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Akwesi Opong, and we do archive all these resources on our website, which is www.enjoylifewithyourspouse.com. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again next week.